Hey there. Good morning. Oh, let me just check. Oh, yep, looks like I'm just checking to make sure my video is working. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy, where we talk about all things play therapy and becoming that play therapy of excellence. And today's topic is how to avoid burnout. Because if our goal is excellence, then the likelihood I'm speaking to myself as well here, the likelihood we engage in perfectionism and feel like that we have to do everything perfectly, and we sit in sessions with our clients, we hear their hard stories, we sit with parents, we hear their struggles, we sit with kids, we watch them as they go through the healing process, we know their stories, we know their struggles, and we want to make a difference. A lot of times that often leads to, and I'm sure it's not just me, leads to a sense of feeling like we have to get everything right all of the time, feeling burned out, actually. So that's what I thought I would talk about today. We're in the holiday season here in the US and probably around the world, most places. This is we've entered into Christmas season. For those of you who celebrate Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, we're entering into that season, the holiday season. So I thought it would be a good time to kind of take a step back and think about what we need as play therapists during this time. And when I thought about that, I thought, you know what, let's just talk about some self-care and avoiding burnout. And for me, I'll be honest, the whole concept of burnout, and it's an important topic. Let me just say that. I know it's an important topic. But for me, after a while, I would hear, oh, burnout, and I'd be like, womp, womp. Even though I know it's really important, it's a lot of times it just felt like one more thing somebody was telling me I had to do. And at the time, I had two kids, I had two boys, very, very active boys, trying to work and do private practice and take care of my kids and take care of a home and deal with running a business and marriage things and relationship things and family things, as well as coworker things and work, what's going on with my clients. It honestly just felt like one more thing I had to do. And so for me, when we're talking about burnout, we're talking about I think of it more of like learning a way of being that sets us up for success, that's going to reduce burnout, but at least identify when we're starting to get a little crispy. And I tell myself this too. I mean, I started my master's degree in graduate school in 1990, finished my degree in 2 years. So by 1992, I had started this new journey in child and adolescent mental health because I've always wanted to work with kids. Prior to that, I was a special education teacher in a self-contained classroom back in the 1980s. I had worked at it was a center. So we had elementary school age children, all of who were not able to be in the classroom. And so because of their emotional things going on for them, behavioral things. So talk about burnout, man, that's a hard job too. So I went from one hard job to another. And somewhere along the way, I I realized over somewhere along the way, I realized I really needed to start making a shift. And for me, that conversation started when I was in private practice and I was in a consultation group with some amazing women. And I was this new play therapist on my journey, private practice, very excited and wanting to save the world, right? And so my journey into kind of recognizing some of the things that I'm going to talk about today started with that group of amazing women, and they had been in the field a lot longer than me, and some of the wisdom that they passed on to me. So I felt very blessed to be in that group with them. And so some of these things I'm going to share started there, and kind of what I've learned over the last 35 plus 30 years, almost 35 years. And I still have to do these today. So that is what I want to talk about today. If you're listening and watching live, I would love to know who's here. Post your name in the comments. What population are you working with? You know, what are some of the struggles you feel comfortable sharing in a public format? You know, some of the advice that you give people, some of the advice you give yourself. What are some things that you do? And let's get started. That's today. Post your name in the comments. If you're watching the replay, please feel free to post your name, your comments. The only thing that I ask people not to do during these live streams, or if you're watching the replay videos, or even if you're listening to the podcast, the only thing I ask is not to share specific client information, because it is a public format. So we want to make sure to maintain that privacy. And let's get started. The first thing I think we need to talk about is letting go of perfectionism. And I am a perfectionist. It is a blessing and a curse at the same time. I have to remind myself all of the time, let it go, let it go, let it go. Because here's the reality: perfectionism is a trap. There's no way we can do everything right all of the time. Somewhere along the line, I came to terms with this when I realized, you know what, I keep messing up. I'm not going to get it right. When I am super stressed out and overwhelmed, because I have some, there's not a doubt in my mind, I have like inattentive ADHD, which over the last, several decades, I have learned to manage, but my working memory can go to trash as soon as I start getting overwhelmed. It is so frustrating. But I've realized I've had to come to terms with it. Like it's a thing. I don't know what it is about visual processing. I can only read short paragraphs at a time before my eyes start crossing and I get this horrendous headache. The reality is, this is my reality. And when I'm super overwhelmed, then my working memory and my organizational skills go right out the window. It is beyond frustrating. Like if any of you guys can relate, any of you guys kind of have these kind of struggles as well, I get it. And the minute I start messing up my schedule, forgetting appointments, double booking appointments, putting appointments in the wrong day, it is so frustrating. The minute I do that, I know my brain is in meltdown mode. And so I've just come to terms with it. It is what it is. This is me. I can be mad and self-critical all I want. but it makes things worse. I can get anxious about it. It makes things worse. And the minute I realize I'm doing it, then I start getting anxious again, even more. And I have to do my self-talk, talk myself down, just say, you know what? It is what it is. Let it go. Embrace imperfection. I have many more good qualities that kind of balance out some of these frustrations that I have, and I have learned perfectionism is a trap. There is no way. We all have something. None of us is perfect. And here's the thing: we tell parents all the time, it's not about being the perfect parent. Nobody can be the perfect parent. We tell kids all the time, it's not about being perfect kids. Nobody can be perfect. And yet somehow we think we have to be perfect. And it's not true. So embrace being good enough. Embrace being authentic. Embrace being real. Now, within the client relationship, we have to manage that and have it happen within, professional boundaries, of course. And at the same time, the therapeutic relationship, I would say, is one of the most important things in our clinical work. Learning a theory, learning how to apply the theory is very important. And you can't have relationship with theory, right? You can't have relationship with your intellectual thinking. You have to engage person to person. Now, within the professional relationship of therapy, we have to do that within the professional context. And at the same time, our authenticity and our ability to sit with and engage in that therapeutic relationship in an authentic way is really, really important. And sometimes we can share, when appropriate, our own imperfections. Sometimes we have to say sorry. Sometimes we have to apologize. I feel terrible when I mess up appointments. And I have to apologize. And there's, we'll see if we can work through it. So Amanda says, good afternoon. In Wales, I'm a play therapist working with CLA children. I find supervision and peer supervision very helpful in supporting me and letting go of perfection, especially with unexpected or abrupt endings, right? Those are so hard when clients quit or when parents pull their kids from therapy, especially when there's something that can help. I use mindful breathing to prepare myself for my clients and often take extra time to respond to emails from social workers and carers to ensure I respond ethically and as helpfully as possible. Yes, me too. I love that too, that mindful breathing. Absolutely. And I definitely think, Amanda, I totally agree that group consultation, peer supervision. I have an online play therapy consultation program called Play Therapy Academy. And I will say that I love Play Therapy Academy. I love our meetings. In there, one of the things we'll go through cases, we will staff cases, we'll come up with strategies. The other thing is we support each other. It's not just my 30 plus years of experience. It's the wisdom of the group. It's the support of the group. We also have a group chat. So for in between meetings, people can go into the group chat. We get a lot of support in there because I feel like one of the things that I did when I created Play Therapy Academy was I wanted a program that would provide support, right? Especially when you're learning play therapy and you're really wanting to make a difference in the lives of children. We can get into perfectionism. Imposter syndrome is a thing. It is real. And when we're learning something new, then our imposter syndrome is off the chain. And so absolutely, I wanted a way to be able to support people, support each other in that learning process and build that confidence, right? Build in that self-care, let go of perfectionism, kind of lean into professional authenticity, I'll call it, and learning what it means to be a good enough play therapist who can make a difference, right? We tell parents all the time, you just have to be good enough more often than not. And that's beneficial. That will make a difference. And the other thing is, in our profession of mental health and working with clients, we do a lot of self-reflection, right? Like it's that therapeutic use of self. And so with therapeutic use of self, it's how am I showing up professionally authentic in this therapeutic relationship in a way that is meaningful and establishes a sense of safety and security to build trust, to invite clients into opening up, being vulnerable, allowing themselves to heal by going through that change process, but that requires self-reflection, exploration, vulnerability. Well, for therapists, we have to do our own self-reflection. We have to recognize, is this me going on in this session, or is it my clients, or is it both? Oh, wait, my client just said something and I am triggered right now. I can feel it in my body. I know what that looks like. And so now I need to manage me so I can be fully present for my client. That's a lot of work. I am not kidding. Over the years, sometimes I've said to my husband, I wish I could do a job where I could just be a butthead. I could be a butthead, not feel guilty, not worry about how I've ruined one of my clients, how I've damaged things. Not really, but sometimes I just get tired of self-reflection. I don't want to be a butthead, but sometimes I just don't want to have to self-reflect. And that's not the profession we're in, because that therapeutic use of self requires that we do the self-reflection. Here's the key. It's self-reflection over self-criticism, recognizing what's going on, setting that aside, and letting go of perfectionism. So the goal is not perfectionism. The goal is to be the best version of therapeutic authenticity in a professional relationship that you can be in that moment in time. And here's the thing. To me, this is key. Whether we have been doing therapy for decades like myself, or we're just getting started, or we're somewhere in between, that ability to just be present in the session, to provide that felt sense of being seen and heard. Even if you're still learning your theory model and you're still getting that down pat, or even if you're like not sure what to do, sometimes I still get lost. I don't know what to do. I've even said to clients sometimes, I don't know, but let's figure this out. Just that sense of you're not alone. Somebody sees me authentically, cares about me. That in and of itself is healing. So if we remember that, we are golden. So letting go of perfectionism, letting go of feeling like I have to do everything right all of the time, and engaging in self-criticism where you're just constantly criticizing yourself every session. You have got to let that go. Learn from it, right? The next thing, and this is one of the most freeing things I learned from my circle of amazing women decades ago when I was just getting started. These are the things I remember sharing a story with a client, and I'm kind of a perfectionist. I want to make a difference. I want to help. That's my passion that drives me. It's what got me into this field. And it's also my downfall, right? And understanding what I'm about to say was probably one of the most freeing things that I learned, and it's the thing that I remind myself over and over. I'm probably pretty good at it by now, and I still have to practice it over and over. I would say probably my bigger struggle is the third thing I'm going to talk about. And also, I've gotten a lot better about letting go of perfectionism. It still rears its little ugly head sometimes. The thing that I'm going to share now is who owns the problem. And I remember sitting with this group of women, and I was sharing this struggle that I was having with the client. I was just so worried about doing the right thing and keeping them engaged. And I was sure everything was my fault. And I don't know if anybody of you guys can relate. And one of the women just asked me and said, "Hey, I want to ask you a question," or some version of that, because that's how they were. And they said to me, "Who owns this problem? Do you own it, or does the client?" And I was stumped. I had no idea what she was talking about, because of course I owned it. I was responsible for fixing everything. It was all my responsibility. So I owned it, right? And that's not wrong answer. These amazing women kind of talked me through, I do not own the problem, and really helped me to understand how this was a hindrance, a stumbling block. It was going to get in the way of really helping my clients. So it's really about boundaries and who owns the problem. The reality is, as helping professionals, we want to get in, right? We want to make a difference. So we take responsibility for it because we think we are the ones, we have all the knowledge, we have all the skills. The reality is we are guides. It's not my journey. As a guide, my role is to walk alongside. That's my role. I am not responsible for making the changes. I am responsible for showing the way, making suggestions, being fully present, showing up with unconditional positive regard and empathy in the session, helping my client feel seen and heard, and holding boundaries sometimes, because sometimes we need to hold boundaries. Sometimes our clients need to have us hold boundaries about what we will and won't do, and also allow them to carry and change whatever it is that they need to change, because the reality is I can't do it for them. If I do it for them, I rob them of the opportunity to make these changes and get that deeper level healing. The way that looks in play therapy is don't go into grown-up mode with your little client, or maybe your adolescent client, in the play therapy session. Don't jump right in to fix everything. Allow some opportunity to see how your client is going to work through it. Allow your client the opportunity to use that play therapy process to fix and solve whatever it is that's going on. In your work with parents, I find that's a little more challenging for us as mental health, child and adolescent mental health professionals, because we want to get in there, we want to help, and we want to make a difference. And so a lot of times what we'll go in there is we'll make suggestions way too soon. because the parents only hear it as us judging them and telling them we're doing something wrong. I learned that one a long time ago too. One of the parents of my clients, I did this amazing parent group. I thought was fit. I thought I was being so compassionate and empathetic, sharing some of my parenting struggles as a mother of 2 neurodiverse. Yes, I have ADHD kids as well. What a shocker, right? That I have ADHD too. And I thought I was just being so helpful, and I had a good relationship with this mom. So she ended up sharing with me that all she heard was me telling her what a bad parent she was. So, and I was so grateful that she shared that. I felt horrible. I was shocked too, because in my head, I'm thinking, that's what you got out of what I said. And so we began to kind of explore that a little bit. But what I realized was she had a lot of shame and guilt. And I did not take that on for her. Parents, that's theirs to solve. I got my own. I got mine to solve. That's my responsibility. And our responsibility is to allow clients and parents to own the part that they need to change in the play therapy process. I can show up authentically. I can show up with unconditional positive regard and empathy. I'll hold boundaries sometimes. Like sometimes if there's something that can't happen anymore, then I'll say, hey, this really needs to stop. And I'm not talking about mandated reporting things. That's kind of in a different category. I'm talking about things that are kind of getting up there to that line, but also are going to get in the way of the progress they need to make. So my role is to be the guide, to be support, to provide a safe space. But the healing work is really the client's responsibility. I always say they are the driver of the bus. I'm sitting on the bus with them, kind of helping them know where to go. In the end, it's their choice whether or not they go that way. And sometimes we go over and over and over. This is where we hold hard things, right? Sometimes we sit with our clients and their parents while they kind of do the same thing over and over, getting the same results, while we kind of, with compassion and empathy and boundaries, kind of walk through that process with them and help them make the connections. And this is where we can use reflective questions to ourselves, even if we ask reflective questions to clients so they can kind of help make these connections. If we find ourselves getting pulled in and taking responsibility, then it's our job to ask ourselves, kind of using those reflective questions, not getting into self-criticism. Whose role is this? Whose responsibility is to fix this? And reminding myself it's not mine, because I have to let go. And that we have to practice letting go. Holding on to somebody else's problems not only drains us and makes us more ineffective, but it also robs them of their opportunity to grow from it. And so boundaries are not a bad thing. It doesn't mean we're being mean. It doesn't mean we're not helping. It just means that we are honoring our client's ability to tap into their inner strength and inner wisdom to make these changes. So Amanda says, who owns the problem? Sometimes it is the client or their carers, but as a play therapist, we often feel we have to repair, but we can only repair with clients when they and their carers are open to repair. That's right. We act as the guide. Ultimately, we can't do it for them. It's not going to make a difference. We do our work. They do their work. I have to do my own work. Otherwise, I won't get to that deeper level of change and become that amazing person like Gandalf. Any of you who are Lord of the Rings fan, my goal is always to be the most amazing Gandalf. I see myself as the Gandalf of play therapy in the mental health world. I walk through and guide. Sometimes I get in there and battle with them, but ultimately, Frodo had to make the journey by himself, right? Frodo and Sam. Which brings me to the next thing to think about, which is taking time away to connect with self and others. So if I love Lord of the Rings. I probably have watched that movie, all the series. I probably watched it like 80 times. The metaphors in Lord of the Rings are amazing. But just Frodo, right? He's the hero of the story. Frodo's the one that actually was able to get the ring in the lake of fire and get rid of all the bad things that were going on. But he had a friend along the way, along the journey. And we can't do this alone. We can't be in this world and exist and hold hard stories and work through challenging situations on our own. We need community. We need connection. I think for Play Therapy Academy, that's one of the things to me that's really important to provide the play therapists in Play Therapy Academy, which is that support as well as some wisdom and the group wisdom, not just mine, but everybody's, where we kind of help people along the way, but also kind of lightens the load a little bit when you know you're not in it by yourself, that you know you have some people walking alongside, kind of helping you along the way. Ultimately, though, we have to do it. Nobody can do it for us. Clients have to do it. We can't do it for them. But in order to do it with the level of skill and effectiveness that we want to do it, we really have to understand that we can't do it alone. So we have to take time away. We have to connect to ourselves and connect to others. So how do you do that? And to me, I have to do this in a way that doesn't add one more thing to my list of things to do. And sometimes it is. Sometimes I will have to I schedule a break. I put it on my work calendar. I will put it on my weekly calendar. I pencil it in, because if I see it on my calendar, then I'm more likely to do it. So I try to take a break. For me, what grounds me is getting outside, breathing in some air. So, what is it for you? What is it that you do that kind of refreshes you and does a little bit of a reset? Amanda said that she'll do some mindful breathing in between sessions. I love that. I think that's awesome. And also nurturing our relationships. Who are the people in our lives that we can go to and talk to and get support, and know that we're not alone, that we have people that see us and hear us and support us, and we can have really good conversations. I have a couple of people in my really inner circle that I know I can go to, and they care about me, they love me, and they will give me honest feedback. One of those people is my husband, and I have a couple of really good friends who will do that with me as well. And that helps. I always feel so much better after I've done that. So who do you go to? What relationships are you cultivating that are people in your inner circle that kind of help you along the way? And then the other thing is, what are your passions? What are things that you love to do? So I live in the desert now. I used to live on the East Coast, and we had over a couple of acres. And when I had a couple of acres, I had these awesome gardens that I loved, and I would get in there and do weeding. And my kids would always laugh because we'd have like 10 yards of mulch. in our driveway, and I would do the mulch. I would make them help too sometimes. And we'd get out there and I would do the mulching, and that just like that hard work and mulching and weeding and making my garden beautiful just filled my soul. I just loved getting out there and doing that, going for a walk, going on a hike. I have got to get back into nature. It just feeds my soul. We have some here on the West Coast, we have some beautiful mountains and hike, and there's red rock everywhere. It's so beautiful. Getting out there, hiking, getting back to nature. And sometimes it's like for some of you, it might be just getting time to yourself, reading a good book, kind of curling up in your favorite chair with your favorite blankie. I call them blankies. With tea or coffee, listening to music, turning on, lighting a candle, having that scent, having that quiet time. And for me, I do that. I love doing that in the mornings, having my cup of coffee. I do my quiet time. My spirituality, my spiritual practice is what keeps me grounded, kind of helps me be open and authentic. And the other thing is, like, there's a really good book that I thought I would share. It's called Stillness is the Key. I found this recently when I was on vacation, and there was a coffee shop. And so that was my thing. I went down, my husband was sleeping. I went down to the coffee shop, treated myself to a fancy little coffee. And I found this book, and it was so, so good about being still and just taking time to refresh. Journaling. I love journaling. I also love poetry. And there's this really amazing, if you're a therapist and you like kind of doing poetry things, this guy is amazing. I'll hold it up there so you can see the author, Young Pueblo. And it's poetry about clarity and connection. And I will go through this. I'll do some journaling. I'll draw some pictures in here. I'm not giving this book away to anybody. I'll do journaling. It'll prompt some journaling, some self-reflection, just a time to kind of clear things away. So what is it that you do? What are some things that you do to take time away, connect to yourself, connect to others? So that is it for today. Oh, we got one more comment. Amanda says, has anyone tried dancing around their kitchen? That works wonders for me. That's awesome. Yes. Movement, dancing. Sometimes I will be in my car singing the top of my lungs, man. Nobody else is around. Dancing around. That's awesome. Yes. So let me do a quick recap. One is letting go of perfection, recognizing the importance of professional authenticity within your therapeutic relationships, but also have those times where you can be fully authentic with the people in your inner circle. Just connecting with yourself, being authentic, embrace your imperfections. Otherwise, if you beat yourself up about them, it is going to make them worse. The other thing is, who owns the problem? You don't. It is not your responsibility to make the changes. It is not your responsibility to fix the problem. It is your role to be that wise guide, to be authentically present, helping your client feel seen and heard in that relationship, that therapeutic relationship, helping your client feel like they can be safe and open up and be vulnerable so they can make the changes that they need to make. That's our role, to give suggestions, to understand the theory model and how the theory model is applied for play therapy and what that looks like. But it doesn't mean we do it perfectly, because nothing can ever be done perfectly. We are human beings. We embrace good enough. and recognize that our clients are the ones who own the problem and they are the ones that need to make the changes. And then the third thing is take time away. Like, we're entering into the holiday season. I'm not doing live streams for the next 2 weeks. That was my way of doing some self-care for myself, because I'm terrible at self-care, and it's a constant thing that I work on. So this year we're not doing live streams for next week or the week after. The next time we do a live stream will be in January. And during that time, I plan to spend time with my family. My kids are going to be in town. We're going to go hang out with some friends, do some self-care, take some time, reconnect to yourself. What is it that you're going to be doing that rejuvenates you and reconnects to yourself and with others? So that is it for today. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, I've talked about that a little bit during the live stream and the podcast. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, then I'll tell you a little bit about it. It is a group of like-minded play therapists. We come together twice a month for a group consultation call. We do case presentations so that you have a time where it's going to be you and you're going to get a dedicated time to focus on you. But also, when it's not your time to present, you're going to be learning from others. You're going to be seeing videos, or we're seeing how we identify themes in Santray photos or art, or identifying themes in video sessions. We are going to be talking about strategies. How are you applying your play therapy model? And in that time, we're also going to be giving support, helping each other know that being good enough and learning over time, making progress is the goal. Perfection is not the goal. We are kicking imposter syndrome to the curb and supporting each other and growing in confidence, giving ideas, supporting each other with different ideas in our private group chat, also during the consultation calls. And also there are courses to help you learn some foundational skills that you need in order to show up in effectively and confidently and have the knowledge that you need in order to guide your client through that play therapy healing process. So if you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, I do have a few openings. When they're filled up, they're filled up. So if you're interested, you can pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. You'll want to go, it'll be / supervision. You'll want to go to, it's www.rhplaytherapytraining.com / supervision. Go over to that supervision page and you'll see Play Therapy Academy. It'll give you some more information about that. Also, if you're interested, if you're really thinking this might be something, then schedule a video call with me. It's a free 30-minute video call where we talk about, what it is that you are struggling with and what Play Therapy Academy is and what play therapy can do to help. Mostly because I want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So that way you'll know whether or not it's a good fit and what needs to happen. So just go ahead and schedule a video call with me. Amanda says, thank you so much, Kathy. You've really helped me to reframe my thoughts and processes. I hope you have a lovely break this holiday season. Thank you, Amanda. You too. So schedule the video call with me. You'll see a link for the scheduling the video call in the comments. Also a link over to my website. Again, the website is www.rhplaytherapytraining.com. That's renewingheartsplaytherapytraining.com. And I will see you guys in the new year. Have a happy holiday season. Bye.